Before we continue with the saber form, or the Michuan version of the public yang style of the saber form, we want to address a few issues, because we don't want to just throw out the baby with the bathwater. We don't want, we want to pay some respect to the source material, which is the yang form. And also we want to do more than just apply the principles. We want to make sure that this form is something that's usable. And one of the things that matters is that the saber form, like I said before, is more kind of these rounded energies. But the footing, the stepping that we've done so far is actually very linear. So part of the changes I want to put is have more of that linear quality. So for example, instead of these steps where you step through and all that kind of stuff, it'd be better to have more circular things. So for example, one of the possibilities is at the beginning, we come here, and then there's a stab in the classic form that we did, just a step through here, but there's another version where we can come here and then pull back, turn, and strike this way. And one I like about this, right, so you'd come in here, right here, pull, and then it'd be this turn of the hips, which is the real cool thing, because we want to start really engaging the hips. It's too easy to just kind of swing the saber. We want to make sure you engage the hip for this sudden change of direction where the blade comes in, and then you have to really shift back and turn to go this way. So that's one thing, right? So more engagement of the hips, more circular energies, changes of directions, and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking at a manuscript from the 40s that was published in China, translated by Mr. Brennan at Brennan Translations at Blackspot. Very great, cool guy. The other thing is there's some really cool stuff that has to do with a scabbard. So I mentioned before that when we start, if we have the sword or the saber in a scabbard, right, there's that possibility that we're gonna do this, and then we can do the rest of the form with the scabbard in hand, right? So all of these suddenly become here, and immediately you see that if you add the scabbard, all these positions that before looked like palm strikes, or that were questionable as far as I was concerned, like after we're here, where there was this turn, strike, suddenly if you have the scabbard out and you're using it as essentially as a blocking weapon, those palm strike, instead of just being out here, well, why would you put your hand out if you're being attacked, especially if the other guy has a weapon? But if it's a scabbard, and instead what you've done is you've cleared, for example, spear strike, and you clear and then you strike, then it makes a lot more sense. So what I'm saying is, one of the questions is, do you maintain these hand positions that are high in the form because they're actually either here or here, right? If you had a scabbard. The only problem is that it teaches a very bad habit, because if you don't have a scabbard, you want your hand behind the sword. So also the hand that way can actually support, like in some of the blocks, the hand can be here to support, but you want it behind the saber, not out here where you can chop off your own arm. So that's one of the questions. Do we keep the bigger arm because there's a hint that it can be used when you have a scabbard, or do we just make everything assuming that the scabbard is already dropped or it's hanging at the waist, and so the hands are a lot closer to the body so that you don't chop off your own arm? So that's what we're looking at. So we're going to add waist movement, more circular stepping instead of linear, and we just need to think a little more before we throw out these big positions here. Maybe these have a use. So we're to have here or here, though my instinct is to keep the hand here, because this is it's a much better instinct to have and habit to have to protect the other hand, especially since we're going to be using the other hand to support the blade. So we want to kind of keep contact and maintain connection at all time instead of being out here or out here. So that's the direction that we're going towards.